Cian Oldknow knew from the age of 10 that she wanted to be on the Olympic stage. Now, with the showpiece under a month away, Oldknow is on the verge of realizing her dream as she prepares to represent Team South Africa at Paris 2024. And as we continue to look ahead to the Games, Cian joins us now in studio to talk about her journey, aspirations and expectations ahead of the global showpiece. Cian, thank you so much for joining us here on the AM Report. And of course, from the age of 10, you already knew you wanted to be on the Olympic stage. Take us through what a 10-year-old Cian would have envisioned and whether it looks something like what you're seeing today.
Good morning, Andee. Thank you for having me here today. Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine to go to the Olympics. I've loved running since I was like 8. I started doing cross country at school, and I've always just found it like so natural. It's just one of my favorite things to do. And I think my mom got her Protea colours, and I went to the offices with her to get her colours, and I was like, oh, this is cool, like how do I get this? And I think I learned a little bit more about representing a country and the honour that it showed, and I was like, well, the Olympics is one of the biggest stages to do that, and it's something I really want to try aim for. I had no idea what that would entail. I didn't know like distances of running and stuff and like what the different categories were, but I was like, oh, I want to go for running. I'll try and make it work.
And what is it about running that attracted you then? Of course, you did have influences perhaps from family members, but what is it that made you think, well, this is what I want to compete in?
In primary school, we had a fun run in grade 2, and I won it by quite a bit, quite comfortably, and that was with like no training. And I was like, oh, I like winning, and I really enjoyed the running. And then I went into grade 3, and one of my favorite teachers was a cross-country coach, and she got me into it from there. So I think it just kind of found me.
It found you, and now you find yourself on the verge of going to the Paris Olympic Games. Talk us through what that journey has been like, of course, preparing for a big Olympics and what it took for you to find yourself at this big stage. I'm sure it must have been quite a bit of sacrifice, a lot of work that had to go into making sure that you could qualify to compete at the Olympics.
Yeah, it has taken a lot of work. I think I coach athletics as well, and end of last year I made the decision that like I really want to try give it my best shot to go this year. So I took a bit of step down from work so I could have more time for training, and it really paid off. I work with a great coach, George Bradley, and he's given a lot of guidance. And from end of last year, he was like, he really thinks I can go for the marathon this year. Let's try step up and take the distance on, look for one in January or February. And that's what we did, and I did my first marathon or competitive marathon in February, and I ran the qualifying time, and I think it kind of just all worked out so perfectly.
It did, didn't it? And people listening to this are going, well, your first marathon, you ran a personal best, you qualify for the Olympics. Take us through the journey from 2022. You suffered this shoulder injury, perhaps thinking you might not run again or perhaps not at the same speed, but the last 18 months or so have been quite remarkable. Getting personal bests at races, people saying, Oldknow is running like an old pro. How is that making you feel?
I think it's quite exciting. I think it's nice to like know that people recognize the work and stuff you put in. And yeah, I've had quite a few setbacks over the years. I think 2022 when I had the surgery was quite a shock. I wasn't allowed to run for 6 months, or I wasn't allowed to race for 6 months. And it was cross-country trials into that year, and I'd already set my sights on that, and we had to kind of understand that if I wanted to like take my long-term running like really smart, I had to like maybe sacrifice this. And I managed to come back a lot quicker than we expected from the surgery, so I did trials, I won it, and made my way to World Cross Country Champs. And I think from there I was kind of just off a high, and the rest of the races for the rest of last year just went really well.
Did those performances surprise you somewhat? For you, looking at the times that you were running and the incredible performances you've been able to muster during this period, were you surprised going, well, I had no idea I could be this fast?
Sometimes. I had no idea I could be this fast. I think when I did run it, like I kind of knew that I was in shape to do that, but like afterwards running it and being like, oh, I actually pulled off like a 2:25 marathon. That's actually quite impressive. Like it's a bit to like look back and be like, I actually did that. But I think going into it, like it's just trusting the training, trusting my coach. My coach is like, these are the splits we're going for. If you run it smartly, you can do it. So it was a little bit of a surprise, but I knew like the work we had put in and that we could pull it off.
I'm sure that must have given you quite a bit of pride. Of course, qualified for the Olympics in February in Spain. So what does it look like since then in terms of making sure that you don't take your eyes off the prize? You have qualified, but you still need to make sure that you're in tip-top shape and you're ready for the big challenge in Paris.
We did a few more big races after that. So I did the Two Oceans Half, where I came second, and then I did the SA Marathon Champs, where I won. After that, I fell at the end of the race. They didn't drop the tape. So I struggled a little bit with a concussion after that, and I tore one of my muscles off the bone slightly. So it's been a little bit rocky, but we're back on track now. I'm feeling really fit and strong, and I think that like a little bit of forced recovery probably did me a lot of good. I needed a little bit of rest. I think it really worked out for that.
And I think those are moments we can perhaps look back on and laugh at now, but one would say there are a number of injuries you can get from running. Perhaps your ankles, your shin might give you trouble. How did you end up with a black eye at the end of a race when you started the race without one?
Yeah, it's not really one you get from running, I think. It was a little bit weird walking around shops afterwards. Everyone like double takes at you, and it lasted for like 2 weeks. But yeah, I came through the finish line, and the ladies at the end didn't drop the thing properly, so I tripped over the tape and I just landed straight on my face. My first thought was to protect my shoulders, so I think my face took the brunt of it.
Well, of course, you've managed to shake that off, no sign of it. Let's look ahead then to Paris. The goals that you have set yourself, you've now come this far. What are the targets that you've perhaps set yourself for Paris? Is it a medal? Is it a specific time that you want to achieve? Or what is that looking like?
So I think medal is like it's a big ask. I know there's a lot of strong ladies competing at the marathon. I'm going in ranked 62nd, I think. So to improve by like 60 places is a lot. But I know championship races, anything can happen. So I'm hoping to just go out there like in the best shape I can and go out there and run like a smart and hard race and just put myself in contention for like best possible position. I don't know if that's going to be top 50 or top 30, maybe top 20 if I can have like a really good race. And time is a little bit more of a hard one to aim for. It's quite a hilly route, so it starts out flat and then we climb for quite a bit and then it's like a flat finish. So hilly courses are a little bit less time dependent, which is nice for a championship race because I think it makes it a lot less like tactical with splits and a lot more like championship style racing, which is really nice. And
you've touched on it briefly in terms of perhaps the preparation that goes into different types of races. You are now describing it as quite hilly, in Paris and what you are preparing for. What are the differences in terms of your preparation? If you're looking at perhaps a Two Oceans marathon versus a fun run that you're going to, one would anticipate that you don't prepare for them the same. So how different is it? And what does your preparation look like for Paris as opposed to perhaps what you would have been doing for other races?
So my training is actually quite similar to how it was beginning of this year, building into my first marathon and Durban marathon. We may be going to do like a few more hilly long runs and see how that goes. But I think we know like what I did was working, and I did like a few local hilly races, which was good for like the hill training and stuff. So I think we're kind of taking on the same approach because it worked, and just adding in a few other aspects where we can.
Of course, we're looking forward to supporting you in Paris. How do people do that? Where can they find you? I know you're quite big on Instagram and letting people in on your preparations. How do people follow your journey?
Yeah, I think Instagram is one of the places that I'm most open about what's happening. I'll post about there about my injuries and some of my training and stuff. That's Cian Oldknow. And then Twitter I'm a little bit active on, but I think Instagram's probably the way to go.
Right, that's Cian Oldknow, of course, heading to Paris 2024. Wishing you all the best of luck for that, and certainly hope you achieve some of the targets you've set yourself. Of course, it's a marathon runner representing Team South Africa at Paris 2024.